All right, we are live and welcome to the live training session for today. Well, let me take a step back. Hope you're doing well, and thanks for checking out this either live or the replay when you get a chance to check it out. So today we're gonna dive into a pretty cool topic. This has been coming up in the conversations I've been having as of late, and I figured it was a great moment to bring this into conversation. The conversation we're going to be looking at today is very straightforward. Is now the time to invest in my personal development? So, this is a topic that any service provider should really be supporting clients around. And also, I think there's a real opportunity to share, just for the consumer out there, the person that's looking to invest in their personal development, some of the places that just to be in the awareness of as you're looking into that next investment. I will say that probably at this point, from the years of diving into coaching and the personal development work that I've done, I've probably invested over $50,000. That's Canadian, over the years. And as I think back on that experience, most of the investments I've made, I've always felt were a good choice. I think maybe in the earlier days, you know, when I was sort of getting started in the marketing world, that type of thing, that there might have been some ones that I was like, maybe that wasn't the best investment. But over the years, some of the steps that I've taken, the conversations that I'm having with myself, I've felt much more, in alignment and at peace with the decisions that I've made. So I figured that my journey, my experience, and some of the places that I support clients can probably help you, the listener, the person that's here with me on this live. So I see we got a few viewers. Depending on where you're viewing from, I might not be able to see your name. So if you want to say hello, just put your name in the comments and say hello. Let me know if you have any questions around this topic as well, because it truly is an important one, and I want to make sure that I'm supporting as much as I can. What do I want to say? If you don't have the time to watch this live, if you're curious about any of the work I'm doing, whether it's in group coaching or private coaching, I'm going to put a link after this recording to my website where you can find out more about what I'm up to in the future, now and in the future. So look out for that link, and you'll see all the goodness that I'm up to. So I want to share that from my experience, I've been very fortunate as I've stepped into the coaching world. I've had great mentors and people that have really supported me to be in service as a coach. To really, of course, there's a business here, and all the stuff that comes with building a business. But ultimately, like the the highest aspect of coaching, in my opinion, is stepping into a partnership with somebody where they feel clear and complete stepping into that container, meaning that they're not being forced, they're not being pressured, but really that they feel almost in a state of, we'll call it neutrality, a state of like, this makes sense for me, this is the time for me to step into this experience. I feel ready, I feel committed, and what we're working towards makes sense to me. That's really the place that I hold as a coach in terms of really determining where somebody's at. Now, obviously, there's going to be different elements to this, and some people are going to be more ready than others. All these dynamics are at play, but truly, like this is sort of the presence that I bring to the space when I'm looking at, is somebody ready to invest in one of my programs? Because there's a couple things, right? Ultimately, I don't want somebody, feeling rushed to step into a program, or feeling like they're half committed, only to have them, quit or just not enjoy the process, a month, 3 months into the experience. And so, really the opportunity is really to be in partnership, to really determine if this is the right thing. And so I'm going to share just some points today that, again, as I've already spoken to, some points that have really helped me along the way, and some questions that I ask clients, or prospective clients, in that sort of pre-experience together before they enroll in one of my programs. The questions that I'll ask, or the places that I'll have them look, so that they feel like they're on strong footing stepping into an experience like this. So, the first place that I always, this is this is not so much from my program, but the first place that I'm looking at when I'm potentially going to invest in a program is like, what is the upfront experience like? If somebody is, and really just checking in with yourself too, like, what is the experience that you want to have stepping into this program? How do you want to be supported? There are a lot of programs out there that they won't offer a phone call. You'll be sort of chatting, through Messenger or email, as that, and that's the enrollment process. It's worked for me in some of the programs that I've looked at, and then in other ones, obviously I want to have more touch points. So this is really the first place to start, is like, what do you want that experience to be? Oftentimes when I look at some of the programs out there in personal development where it's like, hey, jump on a 10-minute phone call with me, I'm like, no. Like, how's that going to help anybody, right? And so my personal approach to this is to actually offer time, is to really sit with somebody, get the experience of their life, have an understanding of what they're up to and where they want to go. A part of that is they're getting the experience of really being seen and really being attuned to their vision, but it also gives me the experience of that person. Again, it's really a partnership there. And I do find that, it does take time and conversation to really be able to determine that. It's going to be hard to get that read through, email or messenger. So that's just one, quick place to look at, and not so quick really, but it's like, what is that upfront experience? Um, Now we start to get into some of these other areas. So the second place that I always would invite somebody to look at is, are you clear on what the program is actually offering? Maybe you don't have all the details, but are you at least have some clarity on what you're stepping into? Is this going to be a course with no support? Is this going to be something in the middle where there's, a course and you get, a weekly call or something like that? Or is this going to be private coaching where where you're working in partnership one on one with that person? So it's really helpful to get clear on the experience that you're stepping into. And if you're not clear, asking, getting that information so that you can really make the best decision possible for yourself. Um, and yeah, I had a note here of like, just making sure, does it make sense to you? You really want to make sure that you know the structure that you're stepping into, what kind of support's going to be there, how long the experience is going to be, what are some of the elements of the program that you're going to be stepping into. Again, you're not going to need to, you probably don't need to know everything, but get to a place where you feel clear on what it is that you're actually stepping into as an experience. One of the things that I really promote for coaches and service providers, and this would be my step three, or my bullet point number three, is really ensuring that the prospective client gets the experience of the work with you rather than just explaining the concept. So this is like a beneficial point both for coaches and service providers in my network, but also for prospective clients and people who are just connected to me. Um, really important that you get some aspect of the experience before you step into it. So, um, I've actually had a client speak to this just recently, how the container that we created together in that first call was enrolling for him. He knew, he had a sense of the experience that he was going to be stepping into with me by having that conversation. And and the reason why I think this is such an important part is because, let's say with coaches, there are there are lots of coaches out in the world, and a lot of coaches promoting the greatness of their work and their programs. All of that is fine and dandy, but for the for the prospective individual, if they've never experienced coaching before, and even if they have experienced coaching before, they haven't experienced it with you. So it's such an integral piece to actually give the experience of the service that you offer. And you can potentially play with that through doing a live session or providing video content, some way to sort of bridge that gap. And for those of you who are interested in investing in your personal development, again, this is a real opportunity to really get that experience before you sign up for a program. What does that look like? How can you be on the court with that service provider that you're working with? So let me know if you have any questions at this point. Anything that you're just curious about. Even speak to some of the experiences that you've had. It'd be great to hear. Um, Now we're going to get into some of the deeper elements of this, and these are some of the areas that I'm really supporting people with in these conversations. First one being, are you aware of what you're playing for? Do you understand the value of what you're looking to create in this experience? This has been coming up in some of the conversations I've been having lately, where maybe I haven't got to spend as much time with the person. So like, I'll just speak with full disclosure. When I'm looking to work with somebody one on one, we're in conversation together. We've probably met 2 or 3 times before a decision has been made. I've been in the process of creating this group program, and that conversation hasn't happened first, and inevitably people aren't aware of the experience that they want to have. So one of the places to really support yourself is, as you're looking at stepping into a personal development program, what are you actually wanting to get out of it? Again, you may not know all the pieces of it, but really just starting to get clear. Like, if I'm stepping into a relationship building program, here's what I'd like to get out of it. I'd like to get better communication skills. I would like to have more ideas for building intimacy, that type of thing. Starting to really get clear for yourself what you're going to get out of the experience. um, yeah, and I'll just share, because and this is a really important place for a coach or service provider to also look at as well, because um, as I say that, I'm sort of tongue twisted here for a second. Truly, this is such an important part of the process, right? When I'm working with somebody for 3 to 6 to 12 months, I want us to be able to really have an understanding between each other of where we're looking to develop. What are the areas that are really meaningful for this person to create in their life? That way that we can be on the same page as we're moving forward. We at least have a we'll call it like a roadmap of where we're going to. Um, and so oftentimes this kind of gets missed in like single sessions. I was thinking about this morning, right? When we go to counseling or therapy or, any of these modalities, there's sort of this desire to like get better, you know, and yet when the service provider doesn't understand the idea of like, um, let's call it a process, or a roadmap to follow, inevitably it kind of like momentum will build in the beginning, and then things can start to drop off. I'm not saying that that's everybody's experience, but without that roadmap in place, it's really hard to get an understanding of where we're going. So as I get sort of lost in my own conversation here, really pointing it back to, a real opportunity here is to get clear on the things that you're playing for in the experience. And one place that I really look to support clients with, in coaching, is really understanding the value of what will be created. So, let's say, for example, again, we're talking about marriage. Let's say somebody comes to me, for marriage support or business support. Um, so really looking at, okay, if as a man you step into a place of more confidence, you're able to have the tougher conversations that you've been avoiding, and you show up as more of a leader in your home and your relationship, is that worth the investment? If so, okay, like we're in partnership. And if not, well, we need to start keep looking. We need to keep determining what will be the value that matches the investment. Any good service provider is going to look to create this experience with you. It should just be there, that like the investment matches the value of what you're looking for, and even more so. And so again, as service providers, this is really important. And then also as, as customers, as people who are looking for personal development opportunities, this should also be the same lens that you're looking through: is what is the value that I'm going to get out of the experience, and do I even know what I want to create? So I'm going to allow that just to sit in for a moment and let you reflect on, like, do you notice that for yourself when you're looking at these opportunities? Are you asking these questions of yourself? And I'm going to answer your question here. Let me read it first. Okay, cool. So, Sergey, you're asking a question around, when you're in time of making decisions in your life, and you ask yourself, is this the time to start continue personal development? Is this the time to consider my wants and needs? I'll start with that one. Yeah, it's a great question, right? So I think it should always be a part of the conversation of, you know, determining, is this the time for me to pursue this thing that I'm potentially intrigued by? Obviously, we have to take in family dynamics and work dynamics, and how much we have going on in that time period. Absolutely. And oftentimes, if somebody is Sergey, like if you're asking that question, my response would be likely a yes. Because if we are continually in a place of meeting the needs of others and we're not meeting our own, there's eventually going to be an imbalance there. There's going to be a power dynamic where we're just giving all of ourselves to others, and we're left feeling burnt out, tired, and overwhelmed. And so, the opportunity there is to really start to look at, well, where can you start to meet your needs? Maybe, again, we don't know exactly the program there, but maybe just that first step is taking that time for yourself, starting to create a container where you get to have your needs met. And then from there, starting to look at personal development. Again, and the big thing that I'll speak to, as you're going to hear, in a few minutes, is a big part of this. Here's the preview: is making sure that you're stepping into the experience with 2 feet forward. You don't want to be limping into an experience. You don't want to be overwhelmed already and making that investment. Again, there's always breakthroughs that are available, or a new way of being that can be created, but you really want to check that for yourself. Um, and then I'm going to come to the second question around, if I am going to make a decision right now, I feel like an imposter around the people who are in the same place but based on their wants. Okay, so let me sit with that for a second. See if I've got an answer for that. Um, uh, Somewhat. I feel like I'm going to be taking a bit of a stretch. So if I'm going to make a decision right now by my needs, I feel like an imposter around the people who are in the same place but based on their wants. Yeah, I will answer that one. I'll take a swing at it. So, um, yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a tough one for me to answer, but I would want to know more about, like, what is it that makes you feel it as an imposter around the people who are wanting the same thing? Is it that are you perceiving them at a higher level? Are you feeling like an imposter because potentially they're going after what they want and you're not? Maybe if you could just fill in those details a bit more. Thanks, Sergey. Great questions, by the way. So let's come back to the topic at hand. So we've assessed the upfront experience. we've gained some clarity on what exactly we're going to be receiving, and it makes sense to us. We've got to experience an aspect of the program rather than just having an intellectual understanding. And we're aware of what we're playing for, and we're starting to understand the value that needs to be created for the investment. There's a partnership in that with the service provider. Now we want to start to look at, like, does this fit in with our long-term vision? So, as I've gone through these years of investing in coach training in myself, I very much trusted that each of these pieces along the way is what was needed. So, when I first started out in coaching, I actually was looking more on the business creation side of things. As I got a bit more proficient at that, I started looking at the coach training side of things. And I spent quite a few years in coach training programs. And now I'm starting to come back to the business development side of things based on where I'm at. So it's worth looking at, does this fit in with my long-term vision? Do I see where, if I take on this experience, that it's going to, one, really just fit in with what I'm creating moving forward. And also there's a real element of, what is the impact of me investing in this program now? If I invest in this personal development program around relationship or career, what are sort of the long-term impacts of that? So that's another place to look at. Now, here is one of the most important ones, and again, this is a place that I'm really checking in with people around and really wanting to get perspective around is, are you going to be all in on this experience, or are you kind of limping in? I was in a conversation with somebody this week where I was assessing this with the individual that I was in conversation with, and that individual could have potentially signed up for my coaching program at that point. And I kind of had a gut feeling in those moments of like, it doesn't seem like they're 100% enrolled. The energy that they're bringing, the direction that they're headed towards, it kind of feels like they'd be limping into the experience, and there's going to be an impact of that. So a place to always look for yourself is, if you step into this experience, are you all in? Are you going to see it through to the end, or can you already sense like you might potentially drop off, or you might have a fast start and then start to sort of dwindle down? Again, not everything is black and white, but it's just worth checking with yourself. And the big question to ask is, what would need to happen within you or in that partnership for you to be fully enrolled? So, and it's huge. Really, bring this question to the people that you're working with, in terms of really determining, like, are you all in, or are you limping into the experience? So those are some questions that I would be asking myself if I was going to be investing in the next experience. Um, I think that this really creates a good framework of where to look. And again, there might be stuff outside the lines. There might be questions that you're asking yourself, or maybe things that I didn't cover that you would like to get an answer to. Please feel free to ask me, put it in the comments, or even send me a message or an email, and I'll be happy to give you some support around that. Um, Coming back to your answer, Sergey, so you're saying you answered it. Thank you for understanding and patience. Yeah, and you heard it just from me repeating it that you got your answer. Perfect. That's great. Yeah, and again, thanks for asking the question. So, thanks so much for attending this. Again, if anything comes up for you, you have any questions around this, please feel free to ask. And I will be putting a link in the comments to my website where you can find out about the newest programs that I'm offering. And if you ever are interested in just being in conversation with me about them, the contact information is there to reach out. So thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day, and bye for now.